So, what if I told you that Netflix basically launched in 1997? It sounds crazy, right? But it actually happened. There was a company that did it all, years before anyone else. And this is their incredible story, how they invented the future, burned through $500 million, and then just vanished.
Okay, to really get how insane this was, we've got to go back in time. Let's set the dial to 1997. I mean, think about it. No Netflix, no YouTube, no streaming whatsoever. Your entire Friday night movie plan hinged on one thing, what was actually left on the shelf at your local Blockbuster. So for most of us, Friday night was, well, it was an ordeal. You'd drive to the video store, you'd wander the aisles, and you'd just pray that the new release you wanted wasn't already checked out. But for a tiny, select group of people, the future was already here. It was a little company called Diva. And what it did was pure magic. You literally just pressed a button on your remote and poof, the movie you wanted started playing. Instantly. And that, right there, is the central mystery we're going to unravel. If Diva was basically streaming movies before anyone else even thought it was possible, why have you never heard of them? How did they end up as a ghost story while a company that just mailed out DVDs in little red envelopes took over the world?
Well, the answer to that question starts, as these things so often do, with some serious visionaries. People with a goal so audacious, it was almost crazy. And they had an absolutely unbelievable amount of money to back it up.
And their ambition? Get this, it wasn't just to compete with Blockbuster. No, their goal was to make the entire concept of a video store totally obsolete. They wanted to just beam movies straight into your TV. No plastic tapes, no driving, nothing. I mean, that's the scale they were thinking on. This wasn't just some new gadget. They saw themselves building what they called the celestial jukebox. This almost mythical idea of a giant, invisible library in the sky with every movie ever all ready to play whenever you wanted. Now, to build this jukebox, they raised an absolutely staggering amount of cash. We're talking $500 million, $500 million. To put that into perspective for you, the movie Titanic came out that same year, and Viva's budget was more than double the cost of making that entire film. So yeah, the stakes were incredibly high. But here's the thing. Their entire dream, all that money, it all hinged on one single critical decision. A choice that, at the time, seemed absolutely brilliant. But it would also turn out to be completely fatal. See, the big problem was the internet. I mean, it's 1997. We're talking dial-up modems making all those screeching sounds. It was way, way too slow for video. So Diva's engineers did something super clever. They just bypassed the internet entirely. Instead, they built their own private, super fast network right on top of the cable TV lines that were already in pretty much every home in America. So what they built is what's called a proprietary network. It was their own little closed-off system. Diva owned the servers, the software, the whole shebang. But, and this is the huge but, they didn't own the physical wires going into people's houses. Those pipes belonged to the cable companies. And that one little detail, that dependency, was going to be their downfall. And listen, I can't overstate how magical the tech itself was for its time. They had figured out this revolutionary video compression. The on-screen menu looked like something out of a sci-fi movie, and you could pause, rewind, and fast-forward a digital stream. We take that for granted now, but back then, nobody had ever seen anything like it. It was incredible. Honestly, this is probably the best way to think about their whole situation. It's like they built the fastest, most futuristic bullet train in the world. Absolutely amazing. But they didn't own any of the tracks. So every single time they wanted to go anywhere, they had to get permission from the old school companies that owned all the rails. And that complete and total reliance on the cable companies, well, that wasn't just a weakness. It was a fatal flaw, because it meant the people who were supposed to be their most important partners were about to become their deadliest enemies. Yeah, this is where the story takes a really dark turn. You see, the cable giants had this sudden, terrifying light bulb moment. They realized, wait a minute, if this Diva thing takes off, if everyone needs this little black box, then Diva will be the company everyone loves. They'll own the customer. The cable company would just become a dumb pipe, the boring, invisible utility that delivers the cool stuff. And there was no way they were going to let that happen. So they started a secret war, a strategy to kill Diva slowly. Publicly, oh, they were all smiles, talking about this amazing new partnership and innovation. But behind closed doors, they were doing everything they could to sabotage it. They'd drag their feet on rollouts, they'd hit Diva with these crazy made-up fees, all while their own tech guys were taking Diva's box apart to figure out how it worked.
It was basically a hostage situation. Diva had the revolutionary product that customers would have loved, but their so-called partners controlled the only way to actually deliver it. And they used that power to just slowly, methodically bleed the company dry of all its cash. Okay, so while this whole backstabbing corporate drama is playing out, remember what year it is, 1997. And another little startup founded in that exact same year was trying to solve the same problem with an approach that was so different, it was almost laughably low-tech. And yep, you guessed it, that company was Netflix. While Diva was spending $500 million fighting the cable giants, Netflix decided to use the most reliable, permission-free network on the planet, the good old U.S. Postal Service. After all, you don't need to sign a multi-million-dollar deal with anyone to drop an envelope in a mailbox. And when you put them side by side, the difference is just staggering. Diva went for the super expensive, high-tech solution that put them at the mercy of their partners. Netflix went with a dead simple, low-tech solution that gave them complete freedom and was super easy to scale up. See, Diva thought they were in a technology fight. Netflix knew it was a business model fight, and they won. So you can see where this is going. Pinned between sky-high costs on one side and partners who were actively trying to kill them on the other, Diva was trapped. It entered its final death spiral. But the story doesn't quite end there, and neither did its amazing technology. There were a few final nails in the coffin, really. First, expanding to a new city meant spending millions on new servers. It just wasn't scalable. Second, they discovered that most of the actual cable wires out there were too old and crummy to even handle their signal. And then the final blow. The dot-com bubble burst, and all that investment money just evaporated overnight. So that brings us to one final, really interesting question. What happened to all of it? All that revolutionary tech, those brilliant patents, did it all just disappear when Diva officially went bankrupt? Well, here's the last absolutely brutal twist in this story. When all of Diva's assets were sold off for pennies on the dollar, guess who bought them? You got it, the very same cable companies that had spent years killing them. So, the next time you're flipping through channels and you press that on-demand button, just know you're probably using the ghost of a machine that Diva built. In the end, I think the story of Diva is such a powerful lesson, right? It shows that you can have the best idea, the most amazing technology. You can literally invent the future. But just being first doesn't mean you win. The future doesn't belong to the first person to get there. It belongs to the person who can actually survive the journey.